Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about self-harm. I'm going to talk about exposing our self-harm scars and showing them to other people. I'm going to talk about people's responses to this and how to be sensitive towards other people with revealing your self-harm scars. And then I'm lastly going to talk about how to promote healing of your self-harm and also how to cover up your self-harm scars. The difficult thing I think about self-harm scars and having them on display is that we feel exposed. We feel like part of us is put out there, painted on our skin for everyone to see, and that we can't escape it. That it's something that is there 24/7 to remind us and others of what we went through, a very difficult and traumatizing time that we would more likely want to forget. And it's really hard to be reminded of every single day. And it does feel humiliating, and it does feel embarrassing when people see something that's so exposing and is just left there for people to see and make their own assumptions up, because people are inquisitive, they are curious, and they will wonder why you did it. And I think the important thing is that you have to remember that recovery is about getting back to normality. And normality is being able to wear what a normal person will be able to wear, being able to express yourself through fashion, not being afraid of wearing a strapless top because of your self-harm scars. It's being able to be comfortable in your own skin. And I think this is really important because the definition of a self-harm scar is a mark left by healed, wound, sore, or burn. And I think the most important word here is healed. It's healed. It is in the past, and I think you need to view it as that. View it as something that is healed, that you're moving forward, that you've healed what's inside as well as outside, because it is just on the surface. It doesn't mean anything to do with the sort of person that you are. It doesn't mean anything about you at all. It has no judgment made about you. It's a scar. It's something, a wound that has healed, and it's the wound that is inside that made you do it. It is the pain that is inside that forced you to self-harm. But it is in the past, and you shouldn't be ashamed. You shouldn't be ashamed of something that's in the past, and you shouldn't be ashamed of your body. And I think it's really important to be able to get back to normality, because the more you hide it, the more that you cover yourself up, the more you're staying in that time. You're staying back rather than moving forward in your recovery. And I think it's an important step to be able to move forward and do these things. However, it is really difficult with the responses that you get from people who see your self-harm scars. The main response we are all petrified of is, you did this for attention. Number one, this doesn't even warrant a reply, because these sorts of people are ignorant and don't understand self-harm. It is not for attention. You know that, I know that, and anyone who's educated in about self-harm and depression knows that it is not for attention. It is a deep, really difficult struggle that you went through, and replies like that don't even need a response. Hold your head high. You know you're not wanting attention. There are many other ways you could have done that, and taking it out on your body is not one of them ways. Yes, sometimes people self-harm for attention, but that in itself is a bad thing, because it shows that people are so struggling, so desperate that they will do that for people's attention. So that sort of reply, it doesn't get anywhere, it doesn't mean anything. It's just an ignorant reply, so don't respond to that. I think another response which we have to be aware of is that people do get very upset and traumatized by self-harm scars because they can't understand why someone would do that. This is particularly the case for friends, family, and those you are in a relationship with. It is very difficult to see someone physically hurt themselves, and it is really horrible to see what they've done to themselves because they love that person very much. And a lot of people don't understand. I have a lot of people from different cultures in my PhD cluster who will come up to me and ask me why I self-harm, because they can't comprehend that someone would ever do that. It doesn't even cross their mind. And a response that I do, which a lot of people may be critical of, is I laugh. I think sometimes in the most desperate times, in the most horrible situations, you have to laugh. And I always say, I've just been in the wars. You don't need to explain that it's self-harm. You don't need to explain why. It's your personal business, and people shouldn't be asking, but if they do, it's your personal thing. You can tell people if they're close to you and you feel like you want to and it would help you. But nonetheless, if it's other people, it's just, you don't need to. People will shrug it off. And a lot of people won't mention it. And unfortunately, I'm sorry that I don't have a lot to say about this because it is a very difficult topic. And it is very controversial. But I think sometimes there is a case when we do need to hide our self-harm scars, and that is particularly the case around children, around young children, because they don't understand the self-harm, and I think it's important not to lie to children about these sorts of things. And I think it will be traumatizing. You don't want them to pick up and learn behaviours because they don't understand that is a wrong behaviour and that is a destructive behaviour. So I think it's important around children, and especially vulnerable people, to cover up your self-harm scars. So now I'm going to talk about covering them up and also promoting healing. I know covering up sort of sounds like it's contradicting what I'm saying about being comfortable in your own skin and being able to express yourself without worrying about your self-harm scars, but I think, especially if they're new self-harm scars, it can boost your own confidence. I feel a lot more comfortable myself if I have covered them up a little bit, just because it makes me feel not so put on display, and it just makes me feel more confident. It's just like putting makeup on your face, and once they will fade very light. The scars on my legs completely faded to white lines, which you won't need to cover up. But when they're new and they're red and sore, I sometimes feel like I need to. So to promote healing, my first thing is, I swear by this, Savlon Healing Gel. It's really good. It's good for when you've just self-harmed. It really does promote healing, and it stops it from sort of becoming red and raised. And another thing is called Duoderm, which I don't have with me at the moment, but you can get it from chemists, and it's just like a silicone sort of massive plaster which makes sure that it sort of reduces redness and how raised they are. Also, once they've actually started to heal, I have now found this and I swear by it. It's like bio oil, but it's cheaper, but it really works. It's called Regen Oil. Regen Oil. It's amazing, and I think bio oil just works as well. It's really reduced how raised and red and sore my scars are, and it's really helped them to fade. So I'm going to talk now about covering up. I have 3 things that I use. These are 2 foundations that I find are really helpful. Okay. They're cheap. Oh, got the wrong way around. So you've got the Bourjois Flower Protection and then the Maybelline 24 Hour Stay. I think it's good to make sure that it's exactly your skin tone, but I also use Fairly Handsome because it is very thick, so it really does cover it up. So usually I do a layer of the foundation, and I don't really want to show myself harm scars, but I will. When you've got, do it in the direction of the self-harm. So with the cuts, do it in the direction of self-harm cut, and then I'd really use a foundation brush. That really helps. So do it in strokes. It's basically, you are just applying foundation on your face, sort of like painting, putting makeup. And that's basically what this is. I do another layer of this over top of my foundation because it is basically body makeup. You won't be able to see your self-harm barely at all. Okay, I hope you found that video helpful. If you've got any questions or queries or anything, just email me, and I hope you're all okay. And I'm sending you all much love. Alright, see you later.